lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. I'm Ryan. I got my boy Manny here, and we're back with another episode of the Weekly Pull. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite books we picked up this week, including a book that wasn't released in stores, but I finally got my copy. You had your copy last week, and I wanted to wait to talk about it. So we'll jump into some of our other picks. We'll end on that book that we have a joint.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll let you go first because I think you have one more pick than I do. So I'll let you jump off.
All right. So my first pick of the week is the latest issue, number 11 of What's the Furthest Place from Here? The image title from Matt Rosenberg, Tyler Boss, and a bunch of, I can never pronounce this letterer's name, but he's got a YouTube channel. Hassan, he's really good, man. Hassan Otsvein Elau, I think is how. I mean, I'm probably butchering it, so I'm real sorry.
You're trying, though.
But I mean, he's like, I love his lettering, and guys should follow him on YouTube and on Twitter because he's always posting like really interesting theories about comics and lettering, and his lettering adds a lot to the book. But the book overall has been really good, but this issue specifically has been my favorite. It seems like it's a little different from the other issues. Like this title, for the most part, each issue has been split up into really short chapters, which gave it an interesting like narrative like pace. But this one is more traditionally just kind of like one chapter, but it does focus on two of the main characters, Oberon and Sid, which are actually my two favorite characters. So if you've been reading the title and you've been wondering like what's been going on with Sid and Oberon, who kind of went off on himself, you get a lot of answers in this issue. And focusing on two characters as opposed to sort of like exploring and the world building that's been going on really sort of makes it a real personal read. Has some of the best art I've seen in the series so far. This issue very much almost even works as a standalone if you want to read it that way. So you can probably pick this one up if you've been curious about the series and want to see what it's like. Because it's kind of like a pause and a quiet moment, and giving you a chance to sort of catch up. But it's great, man. I'm loving this title. It's very original, beautifully illustrated. Matt Rosenberg is great at infusing his stories with a lot of offbeat humor that sort of creates a lot of characterization and gives everything a unique feel. And again, if you love music, you should be reading this title. I mean, the title alone is a lyric from the band Jawbreaker, who's like literally my favorite band. That's kind of why I started reading the book in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And now you start to see like why he named the book this title. Like, it's not just like hey, I'm gonna name it something hip and cool. Like there's a thematic reason why he calls it, What's the Furthest Place from Here? Again, I mean, I can't sing praises anymore without sounding like I'm babbling, but really, you guys should be reading this book. It's very unique, and it's like nothing you can probably find on the stands now. And if you like some of the other books that this team did, like I remember they did one book called Four Kids Walk into a Bar, and that was
Four Kids
a bank. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, where I think it's about a bunch of RPG players that plan a bank heist. Again, Matt Rosenberg is one of those guys, and there's a couple of them now that like. Yeah, they can take a high concept idea, but they don't just rely on the high concept. Like that's the end, but they really build on that high concept with like great characters, great themes, like just great execution. And I can't say anything more without, like I said, like just sounding like I'm babbling. So
I get it.
Definitely just add it to your pull list, man. It's one of my favorite titles currently, and I always get excited, and I just love everything about it. Like they always make it very very cohesive. Like most of the covers are very similar. Like there's like a photograph like quality where it's usually like just almost like a landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Usually most of the covers, I think they all have been like a landscape painting, which sort of sets the mood for what's about to go on in the issue. So you can tell there's a lot of thought and a lot of communication between the creative team, which is what I love about comics. You have all these people bringing their A game and their best elements to it, and definitely this one's popping and firing on all cylinders, man. So you definitely want to be picking up What's the Furthest Place from Here. Issue 11 is out now. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I said it the last time, but you talked about issue 10. So, I mean, I feel like that's a future episode. Maybe we should talk volume 1. to
Yeah,
kind of
I mean, I have volume one too. So if you
yeah.
ever if you end up reading it, we should definitely explore it because I don't see enough people talking about the title,
I
and
agree.
I don't
I
know.
I definitely I know that there was a lot of hype around it prior to issue one, especially because like it was released with a vinyl, I believe, right?
You can still get each issue like that.
Each
It's
issue
just
gets okay. So I didn't know each issue had it, but I know
it's
that a lot of
it's a 7 inch with a single like from an indie band, and like usually it's thematically tied. It's just they don't come out as often because it's hard to make vinyl right now. You know, like like a
course.
lot of things. The materials are scarce, so like it's not the probably not the best way if you want to stay current with the title, but definitely that's an ingenious idea that I loved from the beginning.
My pick, my fate. Well, I mean, I haven't read every book, but I'm pretty sure this
Me
will
neither.
be.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this will be my favorite book of the week, and it is Icon versus Hardware. I think I mentioned this when we were talking about. I think Static was last week, if I remember correctly.
You had Static on it as one of
So,
your picks.
um, I'm a huge fan of the Milestone universe. I fucking love all the characters. I've loved them since the '90s. I loved the cartoon. I mean, I've interviewed Dennis Cowan probably at least 4 times, maybe. And before they came back, that was always my question. It was either in the middle of the interview, towards the beginning, or the end. I always ask, when's Milestone coming back? And he could never give me an answer. He's like, it's in the works. It's in the works. So when they finally came back with it, I was ecstatic. No pun intended. So this one I was very excited about. It even has like at the top Worlds Collide, which if you're reading Milestone in the '90s, Worlds Collide was when DC and Milestone crossed over. I know that that's not going to happen now. I know they're just using that title, but this is Act One. Even in the beginning, it says this is Act One of a 3-part Milestone mega epic. So that doesn't mean this is 3 issues. That just means this mini series is the first act in this Worlds Collide crossover. And Hardware was tied for being my favorite character in the Milestone universe, created by Dennis Cowan. That first issue cover is so iconic, written by the late great Dwayne McDuffie, who had his fingerprints all over the Milestone universe. Now this particular series is written by Reginald Hudlin and Leon Chills. Leon Chills is a new name to me. Reginald Hudlin, I mean, if you don't know who he is, like he was president of BET for a long time. He helped bring the Black Panther cartoon to BET. He wrote
He made the movie House Party, dude.
Yeah, he wrote the Black Panther series. I think it was that introduced Shuri. So he's been around for a long time, man. You know, and he's part of the Milestone crew. He was part of bringing them back. He wrote the Icon miniseries that was or the season 1 Icon and Rocket, and Dennis Cowan, Yasmin Flores Montañez are pencilers. John Floyd, Yasmin Flores Montañez, John Siniski on inks, and Christopher Sotomayor on colors. Great book, dude. This was a book, like the way that they presented it was very unexpected because it's got two art teams and you have 2 stories going on simultaneously. And one of them has Rocket. She's going to a boarding school in Switzerland full of rich kids, you know? And at first I'm like, because I didn't finish Icon versus Rocket, but you don't know why she's here. Well, Icon sent her there to kind of learn how that side lives. And, you know, she's even walking in the hallway and she's like, I'm just surrounded by a bunch of rich white bitches. And it made me laugh out loud, you know? And she's like, sure, there's like Asians and Africans here, and like, but it's very, very, it's like very, very white, you know? And second page, dude, a girl has committed suicide, has hung herself. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, and so it's talking about bullying and stuff. And so it deals with that. And I think I talked about that when I was talking about Static in the history of Milestone, how like they always talk about like some real world shit like bullying, and bullying is a real thing, dude. And like the way you talk to people and how you may not know how it's going to affect them, but it does have an effect on people, you know, just like saying mean shit to them. So it's dealing with that. But then like the main part of this book, while it also deals with that, you have Icon in it very briefly. Like you don't really talk about him, but Hardware is kind of investigating him and trying to figure out like where he came from. and that takes him all the way back to like Civil War era. And they talk about not as
Yeah,
I
because
get
Icon's been around for
he's a
about
yeah, he's immortal. He doesn't
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean he doesn't age anymore. So he's looking back in time and he comes across this scientist Benjamin Banneker. And I didn't have time to, because I just read it this morning. I didn't have time to research. I'm pretty sure that is a real person in history. But, they talk about him and how he helped lay the foundation of what would become the District of Columbia. And so moving forward, I mean, sorry that this is super spoiler heavy, but Hardware figures out a way to do time travel. In doing that, he is trying to prevent the Big Bang from happening because it is some of his research through Alva, who kind of like was his mentor from a young age and kind of like had him under his wing, but really was just trying to make money off of Hardware's brilliance, Curtis's brilliance, right? Before he goes back in time to fix that event, he goes back in time to when his father left him because of what a profound effect it had on not having his father in his life. And he was hoping that by doing that, maybe he wouldn't have let Alva kind of been this like influence on him. And you have a really good moment of him going in time and hearing a conversation where the day his dad left. And then he finds out he had a brother. So there's that little tidbit. But then he goes into a bar and talks with his dad. And
Oh, that's awesome.
kind of was like, yeah, my dad left me at a young age. And he's like, and his dad's like, well, you seem like you turned out okay. He's like, yeah, on the surface, but there's other stuff that you can't tell. And he's like, okay, maybe you're right. And then he jumps forward in time, and I guess he notices a little difference in himself where maybe Alva didn't have as strong of an influence on him. And then that's where we come, and basically the setup of the series, like he tries to prevent something, but I won't get into like the actual conclusion, but something happens in that moment where he tries to stop the Big Bang, but it didn't change everything, and now he's like the head of the Alva Industries. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. It was a phenomenal issue. Like, this is such a good first issue
I
to
think I'm
this.
gonna go grab that before I go to work later, man. I'm
It's
gonna actually
dope.
pass by the shop. Yeah,
and
you sold me.
I love Dennis Cowan, dude. I mean, he's one of my favorite artists of all
Oh,
time,
dude,
dude.
yeah,
He
his,
is
his art
a
is fantastic.
absolute legend. I really love when he's paired with Bill Sienkiewicz on inks. I think that what they create when they get together is just fucking magical. But I do love the inks that he had on his pencils on this one too. It was really good. I feel like you could almost pick this up without getting the full backstory of Milestone, because they do what is good, and I'll show this off real quick, is they have, what happened in Icon versus Rocket season 1, and then on the following page they have, what happened in Hardware season 1. So you get kind of what you need to know, and being able to pick this book up. I don't see any other book that I have in my pile. Like, I'm not saying those books aren't going to be good, but it's going to be hard to top what I just read here. Amazing book, amazing art, and if you're not picking it up, go pick it up and check out the rest of the Milestone stuff, because it's all fucking.
I think if you haven't done one already, I think we need to maybe do an episode on Milestone.
All I've done is Hardware 1 and Blood Syndicate 1. So yes, let's do a Milestone episode. I'm down, dude.
All right. My next pick is I'll go with another Matt Rosenberg books that since I already spoke to him, is the new issue of Wildcats. It's issue 4. He's paired on this series with an artist which I didn't know, but
Steven
his
Segovia,
name,
right?
yeah. I mean, I knew the name. I just had never really read much stuff that he'd drawn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really enjoying this, man. I picked it up mostly for 2 reasons. A, I love Matt Rosenberg's writing, and B, I'm an old school Wildcats fan. Like I love the original run by Jim Lee, and I've loved things about every iteration of Wildcats. And Wildcats has been reinterpreted and revamped many times over the years as it's been absorbed into the DC universe. Made its own thing, this and that. And what's great about what Matt's doing is that he's sort of pulling themes from every iteration of Wildcats and kind of like throwing it all together and making it work. And he's making Grifter sort of like the focal point, and you're in, which is great because he has such a talent for writing Grifter. He makes him such a good character. Grifter's funny. He's sarcastic. Like it reminds me of a '90s book in the best way. I'm not making a dig there. You know, like it
I
has
know.
like that kind of like attitude to it. You know,
Okay.
lots of action, but really well executed. And now that Wildcats takes place in the DC universe, he's adding things like the Court of Owls, like Marlowe, who is the guy that created the Wildcats in the first place, like creates another super team here, but it's called the Seven Soldiers of Victory. So like he's pulling things like that out of the DC universe and making it work. I love what he's done with characters like Void. He's made Void really creepy and weird, like almost like a Vertigo character. You got Maxine, who's like the cyborg, and she's like an overly like her sex drive is really high, so like she's always making inappropriate jokes. Like
Okay.
it's just a lot of fun, man. And
Okay.
he makes Spartan like really cool. Like he found a way to sort of take like things that are always there about the character, but tweak it just enough to make it feel fresh and new without sort of ignoring what came before. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I was very hesitant because I thought like, well, Wildcats hasn't always worked when it's been tried to be forced into the DCU, but he's making it. Oh, and his what he does with Deathblow is really funny and really great. Like if you haven't been reading, like Deathblow almost like kind of reincarnates like whenever he passes away. So
Oh,
this
okay.
time,
That's
so
new,
this
right? That
time,
was
yeah, that is new. I think I don't know when that was brought in because I only found out about it through this series, but
mhm.
Michael Cray is in a female body this time, and like
Okay.
the relationship Grifter has with Deathblow is really funny, and like I don't want to spoil it, but like again, he just finds a way to make it all work and make it all a fun read, and I had a big grin on my face when I was reading it. So, and I mean, it might not be like an Eisner award winner, but is it a fun comic that I enjoyed reading? Absolutely, and I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not sure if it's an ongoing or a miniseries. I want to say it might be a
I
miniseries.
feel like it's a limited series. Yeah, maybe not six, but I feel
Yeah,
like it's limited. But it's weird because at first it was announced as an ongoing, I remember, and then like I remember seeing the book and it said miniseries at one point, or I don't know where I saw it, but yeah, I mean like you made me want to read it. I mean I love Grifter, but
yeah,
and like and
he's
like
by
you,
far
it's
like my favorite Wildcat character,
yeah.
and he writes a great grifter, and I mean on that alone, I think it's worth reading. So if you really loved Grifter back in the day, I think Rosenberg has really found a way to give Grifter a very distinct personality and finally make him a character that stands out, not just because he was a cool looking '90s character, but because he has a really fun attitude and a fun personality, to boot. So definitely, I recommend Wildcats, man. It's a fun book, and I enjoyed reading it.
All right, I'm gonna talk about Frank Miller's Pandora, issue number 2. This one is written by this one's written by Frank Miller, Chris Silvestri, and Anthony Marinville. Artist is Emma Kubert. I'm a huge fan of Emma Kubert. I really liked what she did a Kickstarter. Can't remember the name of it. It only had one issue. But I really dug that. She did a book called Inkblot with Image. I know she's worked on
Okay.
Radiant Pink at Image as well. And she's actually has a new book that she's got coming out called Stoneheart through Image, which I'm pretty stoked to check out because I mean she does action adventure fantasy, like I really love the fantasy genre, and I know
Yeah.
there's not a lot of it. We've talked
Yeah,
about
something
that.
you and I have talked about. Like, there's not enough sword and sorcery stuff
Yeah,
out there.
so and what I'm looking at too, which I didn't know, is she has a web comic called Brushstroke that she started early last year. Haven't heard of it. I didn't, like I followed her on social media, but I have not seen that. But anyways, that, to be honest, was the draw for me when I picked up issue 1 was her. It wasn't the fact that Frank Miller's name was on the book. It wasn't, like the fantasy aspect was a draw, but it was mostly her art because I really dig her. I love her. She's got such a great personality. She's super fun to chat with. Issue 2, like it's definitely a coming of age tale. It's it's definitely the YA kind of thing, but it doesn't take away from like kind of like the heart of the book. I love the main characters, Annabeth. In issue 1, she meets this, this stranger, right? And they hang out all day. They're in the woods, and she finds this really weird looking flower. And her grandpa, I believe, it's been a while since I read issue 1, because these come out. That's what I don't like, is they come out every other month. So there's a kind of a big gap in between issues. So it's not as fresh in my mind. But this one kind of takes place, and she's kind of bullied. She's kind of an outsider. Even the guy that she like pals around with reminds me of Dream from Sandman, except with glasses. She's just kind of finding herself. She's looking for like this like connection with him, and like the magic of life and stuff. And obviously there's this mystery about him, like where's he from kind of deal. Like he doesn't know what crying is. Like that's kind of weird. And like he at the end of the book, he's like, oh, this is the last time that we can see each other, because she's like trying to get him to come over. And he kisses her, and then a cool little moment, like he's like, oh, I realize what crying is. It's happy and sad, at the same time sometimes. So it is a really cool book. I really love her coloring on the book as well. I think she's a really good colorist.
So she's doing all the art?
Doing all of it, yeah, because it's just pencils. It's colored to pencils. There's no, I guess maybe she inks. It's hard to tell now when an artist, are they inking the book, especially when they color the book themselves. It's hard for me to see the separation. Like, I know this doesn't have to do with what we're talking about, but I was talking with the owner of my shop yesterday when he was in there, and we were talking about the Batman Joker book by Mark Silvestri. And those aren't inks. Those are just pencils that they darken enough to where it looks like it's been inked. But those are just all pencils. So are they doing it? Is she doing it like that too? Is kind of what I was thinking when I was reading the book. Like, oh, is she just like kind of just doing a darker line, and then like you enhance it on when you're about to color it, or are you coloring, like and making a dark line over your pencils instead of just doing a traditional ink? Because I believe she does all digital. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, either way, this is an awesome book. It's only 6 issues. This is her sweet spot, is this genre, because you can tell she really loves this. Every book she's done has been, a fantasy book. Definitely doesn't feel like a Frank Miller book. I know he's credited as a writer, but I think it's more just maybe helping come up with the concept. But of the 2 books that have come out from Frank Miller Presents, this one is my favorite. This is the one that if you had to ask me which one should you pick up, I would say this book. Ancient Enemies is okay. It's more superhero stuff, and like for me, I'm like, I have enough superhero stuff. Like I'd rather see some different stuff from Frank Miller Presents. But it is that's not to take away from it. I'm excited to see what else they come out with. I know they got a new Sin City book that they're going to do with Milo Manara. That sounds dope, like Frank Miller and Milo Manara coming together. But this Pandora book, I hope we get more. I hope it's something that's not just going to be like a one and done miniseries, because it's got a lot of heart, and just a really, really solid book. Like nothing super actiony, it's all just human connection. And sometimes like I do just like want to read a book like that. Sometimes I don't need to have fighting and shit like that. So definitely go pick it up.
Well, I mean, I guess my next book is a total polar opposite of that. It's a book I've had as a weekly pick before, and it's Hulk. It's Hulk issue 12, and this is illustrated by Ryan Otley, who's also doing the writing. Donny Cates is still listed as doing the plot, but the script and the pencils are credited to Ryan Otley. So he's starting to do some of the heavy lifting when it comes to the writing. And as we mentioned before, I think this might be the first time he's actually written, as opposed to just drawn a story. And I mean, he has some writing chops, man. I mean, he is being assisted with the plot, and he's continuing a story that Donny Cates started. But you can feel the change. Like Ryan Otley's art. Like if you don't know who Ryan Otley is, he was half of the creative team of Invincible. So that he's able to draw like big, like gory, like action-packed scenes. And the Hulk to me is like a no-brainer title for him, because he can draw carnage like I don't mean the character, I mean carnage like the actual bloody carnage, like violence like nobody else in mainstream superhero comics. Like the cartoony vibe he has sort of makes it better. I don't know how. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, because he's not a very realistic artist. There's still a lot of like heavy lines and heavy thick black lines to his art. So like it's very animated. But when you throw in the violence, like it makes it shocking without being overly disturbing. Like it hits that little sweet spot that I like about comics like this.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea they've done with Hulk. Like one of the things I've loved about the Hulk in the last few years is that each iteration is different. It's like, how can you interpret this character? Which, when you think about it, on the surface seems so simple. A guy that turns into a monster, but when you bring in the psyche and like the trauma that Bruce Banner has in his history, you can really do a lot of things with the Hulk. That is not just the guy turns into a monster. I mean, you had Immortal Hulk with Al Ewing, which was fantastic. And although this is a complete departure, it still works because the Hulk is a character that, like I said, can be interpreted in many ways. And this is building towards what I think is the ending of a really cool storyline where the Hulk has found himself on a planet populated by other beings like him that are like gamma powered. So he doesn't have to worry about hurting anyone anymore or destroying. He's found kind of like where he belongs. But then there's this part of his psyche that is slowly coming to the forefront, which I think is being driven by whatever he might have inherited from his abusive father, like whatever traits that he tried to push back, and is creating this other persona of the Hulk called Titan. And Titan seems to be like stronger than any iteration of the Hulk combined. And then in this issue, it's a kind of a spoiler, but you find out that one of the things Bruce did is he implanted a nuclear device in his brain in case Titan or the Hulk ever really went nuts again. It would detonate, literally causing a nuclear explosion inside the Hulk's head. And that's how the issue ends. So that hooked me, and I want to see how it goes. So yeah, it's very over the top. Lots of great fights, like amazing creature designs and like gamma creature designs by Ryan Otley. Like that alone is worth the price of admission, man. Like the guy knows how to draw really cool looking characters and really cool looking monsters. So again, like Wildcats, it's a lot of fun. It doesn't have that slow sort of burn feel that the Al Ewing sort of story had. This is like much more action packed, like bam, bam, bam. Like lots of punches and lots of fighting. But I'm loving it, and I know that I think Otley is going to be off the title fairly soon. So I'm interested to see what the next iteration of the Hulk is going to be. I like that Marvel's been taking the character and sort of letting creators kind of run wild with it. And if that's the trend, then I think that's a good way to treat the Hulk and keep the title kind of fresh. And like if you don't like one iteration, you also know around the corner there might be another creator that's going to have a different take on it. But I'm liking it. Pick it up. There's one trade that you can pick up already that's going to help you catch up. And this is issue 12. So I think after 13, I'm not sure what's going on with the title, but I'm going to stick with it at least through Otley's arc and see how it all ends. Because that ending, I want to show you the
I feel like this might be the end of this run of Hulk. Like they'll relaunch
I think so too. See, like the bomb just goes off in Hulk's head, and like it's like, is that finally gonna be the thing that kills the Hulk? And like, I mean, what a great idea! Like putting a small nuclear device in the Hulk's head. Like I'm like that's just like again like a cool high concept idea that like I like.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Rom V would do a good Hulk because he does a lot of like psychological
yeah, you're right.
Characters. I mean, I don't know that maybe he doesn't even have time in his schedule because I know he's writing a lot of shit. Like he's got Detective Comics. I think he was writing Carnage, but I saw maybe he might not be anymore because I saw another writer solicited on a.
He was on Venom for a while too, right? Or
he was. Oh yeah. He was co-writing Venom with Al Ewing, but I don't know if they're still doing that. But I feel like Hulk, like a really good like psychological thriller type series would be really dope by him. I mean, I don't know. It's just the minute you were talking about like the psyche, Rom V's name came into my head, and I think he's like one of the best writers in comics right now. Super underrated. I don't feel like enough people talk about him. I mean, he did a really good Swamp Thing. A lot of his indie books are phenomenal too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going off subject, but yeah, I love the Hulk. I haven't read this entire run. I think I read the first arc. I don't know how many issues it was. It was 5 or 6, but I did read the first arc. I didn't move forward with it because I wasn't as into it as I was Immortal Hulk, and Immortal Hulk was still too fresh in my mind. to where I'm
Yeah.
like it.
And I get
Sometimes,
it. It's a total departure from
yeah.
Immortal
So
Hulk.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard for
It's
me.
a
Like
different comic.
I
Yeah.
needed to I need to have time to breathe if you're gonna like relaunch something so drastically different. And Marvel has been tending to like when they relaunch, they're doing it so close. They used to let a series end and breathe kind of
I
before
agree
they
with that. They
relaunched
should
it.
let things simmer when they end a little bit before putting the title back out because it can be very jarring to someone
Yeah.
that just has Hulk on their pull list and goes from like Al Ewing's run to this one because they're polar opposites. So if there was moment to breathe, like a pause between the seasons of a TV show or something like that, then
Yeah.
I think maybe it would work better for people that like you that were like a fan of one run and like might not want to go directly into something so different. So I do agree with you there. But
Yeah.
but I mean, if I still highly recommend it and give it a shot.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk our mutual pick, huh?
Oh hell yeah, I'm excited about this one.
The Homeboy, dude. We're talking about a Homeboy's book right here. Jerome
Yes, we are.
Cabanatan, dude. You got a different cover. I got the Craig CK cover. I had
I
to
got
support
the
my boy.
Rick Lopez cover there based after the amazing image of Batman fighting Superman that Frank Miller did in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah,
Very
man.
iconic image right there, and I mean it's such a great cover to me this one because I mean this is a fight comic as we're going to talk about. So
Yeah,
having a comic cover homaging like one of the greatest fights in comic book history is awesome. And shout
totally
out to
agree.
Rick for doing a fucking amazing cover.
Yeah, shout
Rick's
out
an
to
amazing
Craig. Shout
artist,
out
and
to everybody that did a
yeah,
cover.
dude.
I
I mean, look
mean,
at this is a
look,
who's who of amazing.
Chris Anderson,
Yep,
Christian Misi, and
yep.
Kevin Anthony Catalan.
I mean, dude,
Jerome.
all
I know Jerome's gonna listen to this, so
I know he is too. Yeah.
dude, good job on getting those sick ass variant covers. I mean, I know I told him when we chatted about the book when it was live on Kickstarter, but I could not have foreseen. I have to talk about something specific in the book because I feel like I didn't get the book. There's a reason I got the book when I got it
Okay.
because some shit happened to me in my personal life since we recorded last week's weekly poll. Whether it was, I mean, I'll just say it. So I had some health stuff going on, right? And then I got fired from my restaurant job. And the message in this book, because I read this last night, this message in this book, I felt like I directly connected to, and I would not have connected to it the same way if I read it last week when you got it. I was hoping I was going to get this for my birthday. I was like, okay, Manny got it for his birthday, and
Yeah.
our birthday is a day apart. So I'm like, okay, maybe mine will come, and it didn't. I was like, God damn it. But then I realized everything happens for a reason in life, man. And the
Yeah.
message that he was saying in
Which
this
is a
book,
theme of the book. I mean, like, yeah, you're talking synchronicity here. Like, you're right.
yeah, like just there's a certain line that I'll talk about, or it's a
Yeah, I wanted to talk about
sequence of
certain
lines,
panels.
Where is
Like, I
it?
like this here. Like, there's ebbs and flows in all things, and just when
Yeah.
you think you have it all figured out, more problems drop from the sky. But like
Yeah. Yeah, look at
all
this.
being
Look, I'm just gonna read a few pages. Like, not all the dog, but life isn't that easy. Sometimes problems compound, and you're left with so many problems to solve. Might lead you, and your solutions might lead you to another problem. Life's funny. There's ebbs and flows and all things, like you just said. And just when you think you have it all figured out, more problems drop from the sky. But keep your chin up. Use the struggle as a wake up call. This is how heroes are made. Don't be afraid to ask for help, but stay strong if you can't find any. It will pass. Breathe. Focus. That's where it started getting to. That's when I started saying breathe, focus. That's when things started I was like, what the fuck? And then I just kept reading. It's like sometimes you just have to make the choice to get up and get a different view of the problem. You will bounce back. And when you do, take full advantage. Like, I mean, I can literally read the rest of the book. It's the narration that was really getting to me. And I was just like, are you shitting me right now? Like, this book means a lot to me now. And I don't think I will ever forget because
no, man.
I feel like
No,
this is a pivotal moment in my personal life right now. Like, things are going to be different moving forward. Like I spent a lot of time at that job. A lot of years of my life were spent there, and leaving there and going on to whatever next, like whatever's next on my journey. I feel like this book came to me you know, it's just this synchronicity of it is just, it's insane. You know, like we talked about it in a video we recorded earlier this week about how certain comics come to you at a certain moment in your life and how they have an effect on you. Well, this had an effect on me, and like it means something to me that I don't think it would have meant in the same way. Not to say that I wouldn't have loved the book, because I already would have loved it. You know, I think it's a really good book. The story, the action in it,
Dude, his
it
lettering,
means
like,
something. It means something to me.
like I want to point out, like look at this one panel here, like when one character blocks another one, and like the lettering just says nope. You know what I mean? Like that's so good, man. You know, and
His use of onomatopoeias is next level, dude. It's so good.
Next level, dude.
Look at
And
this.
the way
Flip.
he like
Look at that
the
flip, and
I was gonna talk about that one. Yes, like flip backwards when
and
he
it's
flips.
funny because it's backwards in the book, but now on camera, because of the way the camera is, it's putting it the right side because it's giving you the mirror.
And then like the way he's able to make panels like he draws panels like bending like paper like that. I mean, I think we should point out that Jerome is also a very accomplished martial artist. So, which is you know, something he brings into his comics. Like you said, you know, martial arts is always teaching you very philosophical ideas, you know, about that you can bring into other aspects of your life. And like any true martial artist, I mean, it's in the word there. You know, it's a martial art. It's also an art form. And Jerome, yes,
so
yeah.
dope. It's so
it's
good.
so dope. Jerome is using his like martial arts knowledge to like choreograph. I mean, the dude knows how to choreograph a fight so that like it just flows so perfectly. I keep talking about flow, and this is what this issue. It flows, man. Like, you know, like what is it, Bruce Lee? Like be like water, you know, and like, you know, just flow into things.
Yep.
That's what this feels like. I mean, I also love these 2 pages, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
look at this. I know, dude.
so
The movement is. I've said it before. His strong suit is his choreography. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
His choreography, dude. It's like, and it's because of his knowledge of actual martial arts. Like he knows what he's talking about, so he knows the way to depict it.
And he's a teacher. He teaches martial arts to kids, which is another aspect that he brings into his books. Like Troop 44, I think it's called, is what, you know, this is an extension of.
Yeah, Tree Kids of Troop 44, which you can get on Amazon too, or from, I think. Yeah,
and this book there's also, this was a Kickstarter, but there are copies available at Jerome's Etsy. I'm sure you can drop in the links.
Yeah.
When you post a video, so you can get it, because you really should.
Yes.
It's a beautifully put together book. I love the pages. Like it just feels great. The oversized you know, dimensions are perfect. And I mean, it works as a standalone, because I haven't read all of the stuff he's done with these characters, but I was able to pick this up and easily jump into the story and get a lot out of it, like you did. Like I found it very inspirational, because I mean, again, that's the kind of guy Jerome is. I think like you know, martial arts and teaching and he's also a parent, so all this shit is in his DNA, and he's putting that into his comic. And on top of all that, the guy's a fantastic writer, fantastic artist. Like you said, his use of onomatopoeia is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be, I think, lettering mainstream comics. I mean, I think he's someone that
I love his lettering. I fucking love his lettering. Yeah. He's just
the movement,
he's just such a great human being too. You know, I can't speak highly enough of him as a person. He's just such a positive person and such a positive force in this world. You know, like anybody, I have to think anybody he comes into contact with, he just leaves them feeling good. You know, like every time I talked with him,
he's a fucking sensei, dude. That's what he is. You know what I mean? Like, bringing that into all.
He should be a spiritual coach, you know, like, because like I'm serious, like what he created with this, dude, like just super, like it transcends like what a normal comic book is, you know, like this is such, it's, to me, it's really a special book.
It's all ages in the real definition, because like you can give this book to a kid, to an adult, and they're gonna be entertained by quality stuff, and it's not gonna like talk down to them. You know, it's got like some great messages, and like if you're just looking for a badass fight, you're gonna get that too, because this is a badass martial arts fight in here.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's got a lot to say. It's got a lot of heart. To be able to tell a story like that with a book that's entirely like one huge action scene is a testament to like how well he understands like the language and the tools that it takes to create a comic book.
It definitely feels like a spiritual successor to like Usagi Yojimbo. You know, like I was getting
100%,
those vibes the entire time, and it's not just because it has an anthropomorphic fox as one of the characters. Like I just like as I was reading, because I've read a lot of Usagi Yojimbo, and it's one of the best comic books of all time, I think. That's, you know, speaking of that, I definitely need to like change that. That there needs to be some Usagi on my channel because I have never talked about it.
Did you see the back of the latest issue of Turtles? By the way,
I know that you already know that's one of our picks. I mean,
yeah.
You know, like the minute it goes out, the minute I saw that it was solicited, I was like, oh, Manny and I are talking about that book.
Yeah.
But this has so many influences on it, and like you said, like to have a book about fighting, but to have such like deep conversation in the book, you know what I mean? Like you truly can get so many different kinds of experiences at different ages. You know, a kid's gonna probably not really think about the spiritual aspect of it, or like the message maybe behind it. Maybe they're just looking at it like, oh, this is a really cool fight book. But then us as adults, you know, can get a different message. And then maybe somebody that's not necessarily going through the same experience that I was having recently, that you can still pull from it. But if you are going through something in your life, you know, like I really feel like this came to me when I needed it. You know, not that I was worried about anything or that I was thinking about it, but sometimes you just need that
it's
extra,
something
like
you needed that you didn't know you need, which is the best kind of discovery. Like when you read something, you're like, fuck, I really needed to read that, and you didn't know that you needed to read it in that way.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've had this for a few days. I got this before I got canned, you know. I just
waited
didn't
to
read
it too. When you like I hadn't read it last week when I said maybe I'll make it a pick and just mention it. So I'm like, you know, Ryan wants to read it. So I woke up pretty early this morning, like made myself a cup of coffee, sat in my the beanbag I sit in to read all my comics in the living room that's under like the right lighting and everything for me, and just read through it, and I fucking loved it. I mean, was a great way to start my day, and it set the mood for my day, and I gotta thank Jerome for that. And like, I mean, please go to his Etsy and get it.
Yes,
like,
I will drop that link down below.
Yeah.
You know, you can check out. I've had him on as a guest for a couple times on the channel.
Yeah, I interviewed him too about this Kickstarter, so you can check out my interview on Monkey Fighting Robots.
Yeah, just follow this dude on social media. So please, you know, like get out there, support him. Like
and follow his Patreon. It's something I haven't done, which I'm gonna do. He's constantly giving fucking shit away on his Patreon and doing amazing things like inking John Byrne stuff, and he's someone that loves comics and just wants to share it. Like Jerome loves sharing the stuff he loves, and I love people like that, man.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's just a positive fucking light.
On top of the fact that he's an Etch-a-Sketch fucking master.
Oh
I've never seen somebody work at Etch-a-Sketch the way that dude does
I mean, to the point where I don't understand how he's able to do that. I really don't. Like I can't wrap my head around it.
I can barely make a fucking circle on an Etch-a-Sketch.
Dude, yeah, and he's like, I mean, yeah, if you supported this in Kickstarter, he has sent a little zine he did with all of his Etch-a-Sketch art, and it's amazing. Just look at it on his Patreon. It's gonna blow your mind. Yeah. It's something that I've never seen anybody do before, man. Same. Like that, I've never seen anyone do stuff like that on the Etch-a-Sketch. Amazing.
Yeah, agreed. And like, you know, like we said, go back or go support him. Go follow his Patreon. Go follow his social media, and go pick up Tree versus Fox. You will not be disappointed. What a great week for books. You know, kind of a smaller week. But I'm really I'm really glad we saved Tree versus Fox for this week because
I agree.
You know, I read some stuff and like, you know, like some stuff stood out, but like definitely like I really like what we talked about, and I know there's a lot of good stuff next week. I won't talk about it now, but I'm excited to talk about a lot of shit that's coming out next week.
Well, I believe the Treasury edition of Hulk Grand Design comes out next week.
That's a separate episode, but yes.
Yeah.
That's its own, that deserves its own episode.
I agree.
Yeah, but a lot of good stuff coming out next week, and as always, I just, you know, like I love talking comics with you, Manny, and it's always a blast.
Same, bro.
And make sure you guys follow both of us. You can follow Manny. All his links, as always, will be down below, so you can follow him on social media. You can follow him on the different websites he reviews for. Follow Comic Lounge. So make sure you on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and hit that subscribe button so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we're out.
We'll see you next week, guys.